Hey everyone, it's me, Laura Tempest Zakroff, and today I'm joined by Gracie, the Gracie face who stole my chair, and this is 6 Minutes of Witchcraft. And it's not that she stole the chair, it's just that I'm not going to move her because she's wonderful. And she accidentally got turfed earlier out of the chair by someone else in the household. So we'll be nice to Gracie. Anyway, today for 6 Minutes of Witchcraft, I wanted to talk a little bit about what I perceive as the difference between a beginner and a seeker. And this discussion, or the idea for this video started off a few days ago when on Twitter I posted something along the lines of, it makes me feel a little weird when people recommend Weave the Liminal as a book for beginners. I definitely think it can help a lot of people out, particularly early on their path. But like, well, what does that mean, right? Do I think it's not beginner level? What does that mean? And then Thorn Mooney and I also had a discussion on Twitter, and I love Thorn. Someone had said to her that, oh, we don't carry your book because we already have enough beginner books. Like, what the fuck's up with that, right? There are new things coming out, which means that sometimes you should evaluate some of the old stuff that's coming out, that's been out for a while, and maybe freshen it up a bit. But that's kind of a little bit of a different discussion. But I want to explain my point of view, and I think it's developed a bit over time when kind of fascinated by book reviews and what people have read before they get to my book or someone else's book or what they're reading concurrently. And in a few of the situations, when I go, this is really interesting, and I look and I see that they've read mainly fictional books or nonfiction that has nothing to do with witchcraft and the occult, I think, ooh, this might be their first book on witchcraft. And I'm not sure if that was a really great idea because I don't think they're getting it. And so I had posted something to the effect of like, I kind of wish people would dig through, for better or for worse, some other books before they get there. And here's a little bit why. So I have said that We the Liminal is the book that I wish I had when I was a baby witchlet over 20 some years ago. But I was a very weird baby witchlet to start off with. In a very young age, I was into esoterica and metaphysics, art history and culture, gods and goddesses, mythology. I read from cover to cover and kept checking out of the library Mysteries of the Unknown, the Time Life series. And so I was really familiar with a lot of these techniques. The only thing I didn't quite grasp was that there are other people actually doing this. And that just wasn't something in the closet, that there were other religions and spiritualities outside of the Abrahamic ones, or basically Abrahamic religions and pagans, and what my grandmother meant by a pagan or heathen is not what we mean today when we say pagan or heathen. So when I got to my teens and realized that there were other paths out there, when I went to the bookstore, I was really turned off by a lot of what I saw just by the covers, which I know, I'm supposed to judge a book by its cover. But they reminded me of a lot of the posters of unicorns that I had when I was like from kindergarten to like 3rd grade, which I love, and I still have some of those hidden away because they're magnificent, and it was the 80s. Of course, they're just crazy and psychedelic holographic, unicorns and strange things like that. But the book that was actually really the first thing that I read when it came to looking at modern witchcraft, Drawing Down the Moon by Margot Adler. Notice that it has a very serious approach, and there's a sort of kind of a lovely witchy photo here of somebody doing a ritual at the beach or in a kind of a goddess position. There's candles lit. You can tell there's some water there. And you're like, yeah. But, Margot Adler is an NPR reporter. And I felt like, all right, if I'm going to really learn hardcore about something, I'm starting with this clearly nonfiction book. And the other books that I moved past that was I think it was the 20th anniversary of the Spiral Dance, or somewhere around there. Well, that's the copy I have now somewhere. Doreen Valiente's Witchcraft for Tomorrow, the Ferrars. And of course, both of these are coming from Phoenix Publishing, and I don't think any of Phoenix Publishing's covers, at least the ones I've come across. They're all beautifully, very graphic, not very fantasy oriented. So I was very much drawn to these. And at that point, I really wasn't, I was new to modern witchcraft, but I wasn't a beginner. I was a seeker. And what does that mean? I believe that the difference is that a beginner is starting off, looking at the tools of everything, kind of playing around like blocks, like figuring out what colors and what shapes and seeing how they work and how they go. Where a seeker is moving into the next level, saying, okay, these are tools. What can I build? I want to know about the blueprints. I want to know about architecture. I want to know what is the bigger picture. How do I move through this? Once I've built a house, how do I add on to it? How do I build a city? And so forth. So, in the sense that We the Liminal is not a book about spells. I talk about magic, I talk about metaphysics, but it's not, these are the spells you need. It doesn't have instant rituals for you. It really asks you to think. It asks you to do the research to find out what is it that you're looking for. And for someone who's really at that beginner block level, they're not going to get it in the same way. They might get some of it, but it's definitely a book I would hope would come back later. Even if they were frustrated on the first read and be like, I don't think there's anything in here. It's right there on the table. It's like the most obvious buffet. But if you are too busy looking for the snack bar, I want to find the dessert tray, right? And you're like, but here, there are all the dishes that you could consume. And it's also a bit like starting off in a sandbox. And, like a little sandbox. When I was little, it was a giant green turtle. And they had the shell, and you move the shell, and then you got into the sand. So kind of playing in this little box, which it's safe, it's contained, it's basically set up for you to function, right? It's a good place. It's different than the beach. So if you're going to the beach, you're going to be dealing with anything, anybody else can be there. It's not set up for you. It's natural. It's been there. There is a wildness to it. There's obviously the ocean or the sea or a lake or whatever else is in there. So I'm just checking to be like, there's this little blur of black over here, and it would be really great if she was just licking her butt at that moment. You just blipped. You just blipped. Yes, you did. She's so cute. So the difference is, okay, so it's safe, right? And then you're off to explore. So once you are seeking, you continue seeking as well. You've moved beyond that beginner newbie phase, right? And for the rest of your life, whether this is, it's not just 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, you are constantly evolving, growing, building your art, building your craft. The downsides with a sandbox, or the same for the kiddie pool, right? Kiddie pool versus the ocean, is that it is contained, and you don't know if anybody else has gone to the bathroom in it. So there's a lot of books out there, especially on the market right now, that really, I don't want to use the word fluff, but they're not really, they're not equipped to build a practice. They're meant to satisfy like snacks, little snacks, right? And some of those snacks are not quite as healthy. But you have to figure that out. You have to taste and go, oh, this doesn't taste right. This doesn't work for me. And that's part of the beginning process, is seeing like, oh, I like this. I want some more of this, or I want to get more deep and to discover how this was made, versus people who are just content. And some people are just content for snacks for the rest of their lives. Some people just want to stay in the little sandbox for the rest of their lives. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people just come to witchcraft, to find something that makes them feel empowered, makes them feel a little dangerous. They're trying to solve some sort of problem, and magic seems the only way to do it. And they're not in it for the practice. They're not in it for the craft. Maybe at one point they will be, but the large majority of people they're just checking it out. Just like you might try a different type of cuisine, or experiment with pottery, or any other kind of thing, jewelry making, scrapbook, right? These are things that people almost take to a hobby level. Witchcraft isn't a hobby. It's a spirituality. It can be seen as a religion. Talk about that in the book. It is a vocation, right? And it's something that is part of your life every single day. It is a thing you live. You just can't separate it out. You just don't put it on the shelf. So with that, that's what I feel is the difference between beginner and a seeker, and why I posted what I did. So open to your comments and questions. I'm going to be on the road soon, and I'm going to try to at least get another video or two off each week while we're out on the West Coast. So please subscribe, feel free to comment, share along, and I'll see you next time. Bye!